Prince Harry and Meghan Markle booed at the baseball. And the delusional Duke has a face like thunder.
When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle showed up at Dodger Stadium, they expected applause, but instead the crowd turned cold. Boos echoed through the arena as cameras zoomed in, capturing every awkward smile and forced laugh.
Increasingly questions the choices he's making in life. Look at that, sells candles online, $75 a piece. Worked for his wife since 2016.
It wasn't just a bad moment, it was a public reminder that the fairy tale they've been selling is starting to crumble. And the worst part, even in California, the place they once called their fresh start, the audience seems done playing along. It was supposed to be another power move, another chance for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to remind the world they still mattered.
Oh, he's miserable, isn't he? He's totally miserable. Meghan, of course, immediately realized that she was on the screen because that's all she spent the whole game doing. There's a photographer, there's a camera, performing.
Under the bright California lights of Dodger Stadium, they made their entrance. Perfectly styled, perfectly placed, front and center like Hollywood royalty. The cameras panned, the announcer's voice carried their names, and for a split second, you could almost see it, that smug sense of control they thought they had. Meghan tilted her head just so, flashing that polished everything's fine smile. Harry, in his gray suit, tried to look relaxed, pretending this was just another night out.
Hands posted Harry and Meghan getting booed. At the game, Harry hears it, looks smug, and pretends to laugh, saying they also took their bad luck there and caused the LA Dodgers to lose the game. Whoopsie.
But everyone watching could feel it, the tension behind the performance, because something about this scene didn't sit right. Not with the fans, and definitely not with the legends who actually earned those seats. Behind them sat names that defined sports history. Magic Johnson, Sandy Koufax, real icons who built their legacies through decades of work, not headlines. Yet here were Meghan and Harry, two self-exiled royals turned Hollywood brand builders, taking the best view in the house. And that's when the shift happened. The crowd felt it first, that sting of entitlement. The realization that this couple who abandoned their royal duties for freedom still expected to be treated like kings. People started whispering, side-eyeing, pulling out their phones. Social media lit up before the inning even ended. Tweets and clips spread fast. Why are they sitting in front of Koufax? Who even invited them? The irritation was growing, and even if the cameras couldn't capture every boo yet, the energy in that stadium had changed. The vibe wasn't admiration anymore, it was disbelief. Because this wasn't a royal appearance, it was a performance. A carefully staged, PR-checked outing designed to sell the illusion that they were still adored. But the audience wasn't buying it. Harry, once the soldier prince loved for his rebellious charm, now looked like a man trapped in a story he no longer believed in. And Meghan, she looked like she knew the cameras were watching every second. Her smile didn't falter, but it didn't convince anyone either.
You have to feel sorry for Harry being dragged there and then dealing with the fact that actually this couple are just as unpopular in woke California as they are in the United Kingdom.
Fans could see through it, the same way they've seen through every photo op and every relatable interview since the Netflix days. And that's the thing about Los Angeles crowds, they're not the polite royal watchers of London. They know celebrity when they see it, but they also know desperation. And on that night, no matter how hard the couple tried to look at ease, the energy screamed otherwise. The fairy tale veneer was cracking, right there under the stadium lights. But if the front row entitlement stirred the tension, what happened next detonated it. It began like any other crowd shot, a camera sweep, a few curious glances, and then their faces filled the jumbotron. Meghan's smile clicked on instantly, that flawless media-trained expression that never cracks. Harry leaned in, pretending to enjoy it, but before she could even wave, the noise hit. A deep, unmistakable sound rolled through the stadium. Not cheers, not applause, but pure rejection. Boos echoed through every corner of Dodger Stadium, raw and unfiltered. It wasn't polite or hesitant, it was sharp, deliberate, and real.
Sitting in the front row, Harry looked, frankly, like he'd rather be anywhere else. Why does he keep putting himself in situations that visibly make him miserable?
For years, they'd been used to curated applause, royal tours, red carpets, friendly interviews, but this was different. The same California audience they thought adored them was now mocking them, live and loud. Meghan's face flickered for half a second, that flash of disbelief before she forced her smile back into place. Harry tried to laugh, but the sound barely left his throat. He looked cornered, like a man realizing too late that charm can't save you from truth. Social media lit up before the inning ended. "The boos were insane," one fan tweeted. Another wrote, "They thought America loved them, not anymore." The clips spread instantly, looping those few seconds where their royal mask slipped. No matter how many Netflix deals or podcast interviews they did, this was the moment people would remember, not polished or posed, but painfully human. Even the broadcast seemed to twist the knife. The scoreboard introduced her simply as Meghan Markle, no duchess, no royal title, just the name she had before the crown. For critics, it was poetic. For Meghan, it must have stung. Because in America, titles don't buy love, authenticity does. And that night, neither of them looked real.
Why are you doing this to yourself, Harry? You're mortified, you hate crowds. Why do you allow her to put yourself in this position?
By the time the camera cut away, the damage was done. The couple who once symbolized freedom now looked trapped by their own image, trapped by the truth that even Hollywood's most forgiving crowd had stopped clapping. By the next morning, the internet had turned one awkward moment into a full-blown scandal. Every headline asked the same question: who thought it was smart to put them there? Those front row seats weren't just good, they were legendary. That's where the icons sit, the faces that built Los Angeles sports history. Yet somehow, Harry and Meghan, two self-exiled royals with no ties to baseball, had been placed above Magic Johnson and Sandy Koufax. The outrage was instant. Fans felt like the crown had jumped the line. Social media tore into them. "You don't sit Koufax behind influencers," one viral post said. Another mocked, "Even Magic got benched for Markle." The tone was brutal but honest. Baseball isn't a red carpet event. It's about tradition, sweat, and loyalty, three things no one associates with Meghan and Harry anymore. Seeing them front and center felt like an invasion, a photo op at someone else's expense.
And I don't understand either why he keeps putting himself in this situation. I think he is trying to prove all the trolls wrong while being miserable.
They appeared at the Dodgers game. They had very expensive seats sitting in front of Magic Johnson. When the camera panned to them on the big screen, there were boos. Not a great reflection on their popularity to be booed in a big stadium at an event like that.
So Meghan doesn't miss a trick when it comes to, that I am not a member of the royal family, but I actually will keep telling people I am. That's my only way of essentially having an income, right?
Even commentators who usually stayed neutral called it tone deaf. "This isn't Wimbledon," one analyst said on air. "You earn the front row here." And that was the real sting. In their rush to stay relevant, the couple had once again overplayed their hand. What they saw as a glamorous night out looked to everyone else like entitlement in action. The irony, their presence overshadowed the actual game. While fans debated seat politics, the Dodgers lost and social media blamed the Sussex curse. Jokes spread fast. They show up, teams lose. It was mean, sure, but also telling. Their names had become shorthand for bad luck, for attention that turned sour. As photos of the seating chart went viral, one truth became obvious. This wasn't about baseball anymore. It was about hierarchy, who deserves a spotlight and who forces their way into it. And on that night, even the legends had to step aside for the couple who can't stop chasing relevance. By the time the clips hit social media, something bigger started to surface. That maybe this wasn't just a casual date night at all. Meghan's timing was too perfect, too polished. Her new lifestyle line had launched that same week, complete with glossy press photos and candles priced higher than most people's grocery bills. And now, days later, there she was, front row at a televised event, surrounded by cameras, holding a designer clutch that just happened to match her brand's color palette. Coincidence? No one thought so. People began connecting dots. Every gesture, every angle felt rehearsed. Meghan smiled like she was posing for a product shoot, while Harry sat beside her, stiff and silent, the unwilling co-star in a commercial he never signed up for. What was supposed to look natural had the subtlety of an ad campaign. "She's marketing at a baseball game," one post joked. Another said, "Even her smiles look sponsored." The crowd's boos made it worse. What could have been a forgettable PR moment turned into a public rejection, one that no amount of branding spin could fix. The irony is painful. This was the couple who begged for privacy, who left the monarchy to escape public scrutiny, yet somehow they keep finding new stages to stand on. The audience wasn't angry about the candles or the brand. They were tired of the performance. Every public move feels scripted, every smile calculated for clicks. Fans can sense when something's real, and nothing about this felt real. As the game dragged on, the camera kept cutting back to them, but their energy had shifted. Harry's face was blank. Meghan's grin had turned brittle. The magic of the image was gone, replaced by the awkward truth that even in America, their charm was wearing thin. When the final inning ended, they didn't just leave a stadium, they left another dent in their image. Because when everything you do feels like promotion, even your silence starts to sound like an ad.
If she'd stopped acting when she finished in Suits, she wouldn't be doing this line of work. She's only doing this because she's on the coattails of the royal family.
But his absolute despondency shines through.
Somewhere between the boos and the backlash, it became clear that Harry and Meghan were trapped in an identity crisis of their own making. They'd traded the rigid world of Buckingham Palace for the glitter of Hollywood, yet somehow ended up belonging to neither. Too polished to be relatable, too controversial to be adored, they float between fame and fatigue, famous for being famous, but never for anything new. The baseball fiasco was just the latest reminder that their brand, built on rebellion, had turned into routine. Harry once stood for something genuine, the soldier prince, the outsider with heart. But now that charm feels buried under years of interviews, memoirs, and PR statements. Watching him at that game, faking a laugh as the boos poured in, it was impossible not to see the exhaustion. Meghan, meanwhile, keeps trying to mold herself into America's next lifestyle mogul, but the more she markets authenticity, the less convincing it looks. The public isn't cruel, just done pretending. They've seen this movie before and they know how it ends. What makes it sad, almost tragic, is how obvious the disconnect has become. Harry looks like a man who lost his purpose chasing someone else's dream. Meghan looks like a woman still trying to prove she was right to leave it all behind. Together, they've become a symbol of something modern audiences recognize instantly: image without substance. And the more they fight to control their story, the faster it slips away.
And you can tell he's not happy. It's very clear. He's not a good actor.
She's not a very good actor, but she's good enough to hide her feelings, to mask her feelings.
Yes.
Look at that there. She knows that she has to look happy.
Every public outing now feels like damage control disguised as glamour. Every smile hides a question neither of them can answer. Who are we now without the titles, the duties, the protection of the crown? At Dodger Stadium, under those harsh lights, they weren't royal, they weren't Hollywood. They were just two people trying to be seen and realizing maybe for the first time the world had stopped looking. When the boos faded, the real damage began where the cameras couldn't see. Inside boardrooms and studios. Within hours, the same executives who once courted the Sussex brand started making quiet calls. Deals that had been in discussion suddenly went cold. A Netflix producer called the Dodger incident the moment the mystique died. In a town built on image, embarrassment spreads faster than scandal, and that night made them look small. Agents whispered that sponsors were nervous. Meghan's lifestyle line had barely launched and already looked radioactive. No one wanted their product trending beside clips of a stadium booing. Harry's philanthropic image, the soldier turned advocate, was now tangled in memes. They weren't villains, they were liabilities. The very networks that once built them up were now moving on to the next headline, the next couple to package as perfection. For years, Hollywood had treated them like a fresh export, royalty rebranded for the American dream. But the Dodgers game stripped the shine. Behind the scenes, publicists admitted the truth out loud for the first time: they've lost the plot. The pity that once sold interviews had turned into fatigue. The rebellion had turned into routine. By the end of the week, the calls stopped coming. Invitations dried up. The illusion of control, the belief that they could manage their story, evaporated. And in a city obsessed with reinvention, nothing stings more than realizing you've already been replaced. And that quiet, not the boos, is what really ended the story. As the stadium lights dimmed and the crowd disappeared, what lingered wasn't the game or the cheers, it was the silence, the kind that ends illusions. For years, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sold a story. The bold couple who escaped the palace to find freedom, authenticity, and purpose. But somewhere along the way, freedom turned into branding, purpose turned into promotion, and authenticity got lost between the photo ops. The Dodgers game didn't just expose cracks in their image, it shattered the illusion completely. Those boos weren't born from cruelty, they came from recognition, from a public that had spent years watching this couple turn sincerity into spectacle. Every move, every speech, every authentic appearance felt like a performance designed to sell something. A podcast, a memoir, a lifestyle line. And when the cameras caught their faces that night, the world didn't see rebellion or courage anymore. It saw exhaustion. The sparkle that once made them different was gone, replaced by something desperate, two people trying to convince the world, and maybe themselves, that the story still mattered. Social media didn't just replay the moment, it dissected it. Frame by frame, expression by expression, every second became proof that the public had moved on. Headlines called it the end of the Sussex spell. Memes mocked the disconnect. And for the first time, even their most loyal supporters hesitated to defend them. Because how do you defend a fairy tale that's become an infomercial? Harry's silence afterward was deafening. The man who once spoke with purpose now had nothing left to say. No statements, no interviews, just stillness. Meghan, ever the strategist, pushed forward with new launches, new partnerships, new narratives, but something in the air had shifted. The glossy brand couldn't hide the cracks anymore. The crowd's reaction wasn't a blip, it was a verdict. In a way, it was poetic. The same California sun that once symbolized their fresh start now cast a harsher light. What was meant to be their escape had become their stage. And that's the truth about fame. It doesn't end with silence, it ends when people stop believing. Maybe someday they'll find peace far from the lights, somewhere real, somewhere quiet. But for now, that night at Dodger Stadium will remain their mirror. The moment the applause stopped, the illusion shattered, and reality finally took its place. You can leave the palace, you can reinvent your name, you can rebrand your image 1,000 times, but you can't outrun authenticity. Because the fairy tale didn't end with a crown or a scandal. It ended with a sound, a wave of honest, unfiltered rejection that echoed louder than any royal ceremony ever could. And as the cameras turned away, one truth stood clear. The world had already turned the page.